temps. Il a joué ses 4 dans les autres parties. Il a dû préparer à la maison, avec ses ordinateurs, avec ses secondants, une ligne spéciale pour contrer Krammnik. Krammnik devait s'y attendre. Et aujourd'hui, oui, on joue pas.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new game. This game was played between former world champion Garry Kasparov and former world champion Vladimir Krammink. This game was played in 1994. This game was played in 1994 in Germany. Here, Vladimir Kramnik is playing with white pieces and Garry Kasparov is playing with black pieces. Kasparov is playing with black pieces. Vladimir Kramnik plays d4, knight to f3, knight to f6, c4, g6, knight to c3, and bishop to g7, e4, d6, knight to f3, castles by Kasparov, and here bishop to e2, e5, d5, a5, and bishop to g5, h6, bishop to h4, and knight to a6. That's all very standard theory, King's Indian defense, Petrosian variation. And now, here Vladimir Kramnik castles. Bishop to d7, best move recommended by the engine. Kasparov taking his time and playing very good moves. Knight to d2, knight to c5, b3, and here after b3, if you look at this position, now this knight here on c3 is not defended, and Garry Kasparov immediately takes advantage of that and sacrifices his queen. He plays knight takes on e4, and now his queen is hanging, but he doesn't care. Here Vladimir Kramnik, actually, it's the best move to accept the queen. Here bishop takes queen, bishop takes d8, and knight takes c3, attacking the queen. Queen to e1, the best move by the engine, and rook takes, rook f takes d8, rook to c1, and that's a blunder by Kramnik. Here he left the a2 pawn like with no defense, and Kasparov immediately takes advantage of that and grabs the pawn. Rook a1 and knight back to b4. If you look at the position, you might think it's not a blunder. He took this semi-open file for his rook, but I don't think it's worth it, as you will see later. Here, bishop to d1, e4, rook b1, rook e8, rook back to e8, and queen to e3. f5, Kasparov, of course, wants to play g5 and then push this f-pawn, and Kramnik prevents it. Plays h4, rook to f8, g3, rook a to e8, and king to g2. Knight b to d3, an amazing outpost for the knight. Rook to g1 and f4. G takes f4 and rook takes f4, h5, and Kasparov closes the position, plays g5. Rook f1, rook h4, attacking this pawn, and Kramnik defends it, plays rook h1, and rook back to f4, rook f1. Here Kramnik is in a bad position. Of course, if you look at the position, it's not that clear who's better. But of course, after Kasparov sacrificed his queen, he has the initiative, and Kramnik might accept a draw. But Kasparov, of course, doesn't accept draws. He wants to win. Rook e to f8 and f3. Of course, here Kasparov was attacking this pawn by the rooks, so he advanced the pawn. Now it's protected by the bishop. Rook h4 and f takes e4, knight to f4 check, king g1, and knight c to d3, e5, and knight takes e5, rook c1, rook h3, attacking the queen, and of course this rook is defended by the bishop. Knight to f3 and g4, knight takes e5 and rook takes e3, knight takes d7, attacking the rook. But here Kasparov plays knight to h3 check, king to g2, and rook takes f1, king takes f1, and here g3, king to g2, and knight to f4 check, and it was in this position that Vladimir Kramnik resigned the game. So why did he resign? You will play any move. For example, you will play king to f1, Then I will play this. I will push the pawn to g2. Let's play. You will play the only move here is to play king g1. Here I will play rook to h3, and what's stopping this bishop to d4 move, and I will promote the pawn and win the game. So Vladimir Kramnik saw all of that, and he resigned the game, and an amazing victory for Garry Kasparov. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.